Swamiji, you can unmute and start.
Oh, shall we start?
Yes, sir. Yes, Swami.
Yeah. Okay. Namaskar, everyone. Good evening. As we examine the way we live every day, we find we live in quite a bit of conflict. Part of us wants to move in one direction, and another part of us wants to move in another, quite often opposite direction. That's what we mean by living in conflict. It's a different thing to talk about conflict with another person, another party, another country, and so on. In a way, of course, they are all related to the conflict we have within us. But let's pay more attention to the kind of conflict that we have within us, inside us. And whenever there is this conflict, obviously there is a lot of dissipation of energy, a lot of strain, a lot of exhaustion. And that is when it leads to very many times certain frustration. On the whole, human life is marked by tremendous amount of suffering. Therefore, very many times writers and speakers observe or acknowledge that there is hardly any single happy person on the earth. The poor are unhappy, the rich also are unhappy. Those who are in power and position also are unhappy. Therefore, all this wisdom, in the simplest terms, is about finding true happiness, lasting happiness, which is so elusive as we try to do that. In that backdrop, we have some deliberation this evening upon energy which is not of the self. Krishnaji has thrown a lot of light on this extraordinary energy that you and I actually can discover in ourselves, which is not of the self. And when it is not of the self, there is no contradiction, there is no conflict, there is no waste of energy. It's as though there is a beautiful flow. Whereas when the self raises its head in the midst of all our situations, there is contradiction. It seems that you and I are deceiving ourselves. We are trying to play with fire. We are trying to hoodwink ourselves. There is a self-deception. Mystics say that there is actually an undivided awareness. However, we find that our existence is certain island by itself. Our existence has its boundaries, by which we mean there is the existence of others. Especially, there are some others who are doing better and we don't feel good about it. And then there are some others who are nowhere near us and we feel proud about it. Ah, we are ahead. So, why did I say that we are living in self deception? By self deception is meant we are denying to ourselves the insight into a certain deeper truth of our existence. It's like I have a treasure in my house, maybe in a special box. And even if my friends, relatives tell me, look, there is a treasure. You have a treasure. You own a treasure. Why should you be sad? Why should you be afraid? You have a lot of wealth over there in that box. Imagine if I somehow say to them and also say to myself, what treasure, what wealth, I don't have anything at all. Very strange it is. I own wealth, but I say to myself, I badly need some wealth. I badly need some financial support. This is self deception. I am well dressed, but I stand before some dress store and look at all those expensive dresses and wonder, ah, how nice if I get one of those nice dresses. I am very well dressed actually. My dress is more expensive than all of them or any of them. There is this self deception. Enough of these analogies. Let me come to the point right away. There is an undivided awareness where there is no division. Undivided means no division of the self and the not self. However, I constantly visualize, imagine, and what is more, experience the divided self. Now, rest of it is an interesting process. You know what happens when I imagine a separate existence of myself? It doesn't stop there. I get very attached to that sense of who I am. I get obsessed with that sense of who I am. And it becomes my life's mission to ensure that the little self is so called successful, so called handsome, so called doing well, so called enviable. I want to be in limelight. I want the whole town to talk about me, of course, in good light, and so on. See, once there is this division, I am this and she is that, comparison, competition, judgment, evaluation, and a whole lot of thoughts rise around this imagined self. In Krishnaji's writings or speeches, there is repeatedly the mention of the mischief of thought. The mischief of thought. Thought comes along and says, if I do this, I will make a lot of profit. And when I make a lot of profit, when I sit upon a mound of wealth, ah, it's going to be a great feeling. That is when, now coming closer to this theme, energy not of the self, let's first examine what is energy that is of the self. When I see the prospect of maybe starting a business, getting into an enterprise, signing up for something, and I see the prospect of making money, becoming famous, ha 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 ha, suddenly a great energy comes in me. Because I am visualizing how I will grow rich, I will become well known, my pictures will come on posters and hoardings and so on. As I visualize, as I imagine all that, it is the operation of the self we can easily see. But in that daydreaming, in that process of building castles in the air, a lot of energy comes into me. In life, you and I are so much driven by likes and dislikes. A student who has an examination next morning is struggling to read economics, and he hates that subject and says, I'm so tired, I don't think I can read even one more page. What page? I cannot read even one more paragraph. Oh, I am a dying duck, he says. At that time, he suddenly remembers, oh my God, how could I forget? It is the last few overs of that very important one-day test match or limited overs cricket match. It must be the last few overs, and he puts the book of economics down. It falls off the table actually on the ground. He doesn't care. Rushes to where the television is and turns the channel on. Where did that energy come from? Just a moment ago, he said, I don't have the energy even to read one more paragraph of this book on economics. And now he has all the energy to watch that cricket match with great interest. That phenomenon of a certain energy rushing in our veins, in our arteries, in the whole of our existence, whole body, top to bottom, head to toes. That process, that phenomenon is the energy of the self. Because the little self, looking at possibilities, gets excited. But the vision, the outlook, the perspective that the little self has is fraught with pain, for that vision is as faulty as the self itself. The self is away from the truth. The truth is where the self is not. Okay, so we are able to somewhat understand what is meant by energy of the self. When thought makes us ambitious, when thought says, marry that girl and you will be happy for the rest of your life. And we believe that, the young man believes. by marrying that girl, or the girl believes, if I get that boy as my husband, all my problems will be solved. I'll be happy for rest of my life. That's what the self does. It creates a picture of happiness in objects to be possessed, positions to be held, relationship to be made. That is the mischief of thought. And thought is so unintelligent, or the intelligence of thought is so limited. Somebody believes if she can go settle in United Kingdom, haha, the rest of my life will be so good. Can that ever happen? So with place, with some object, with some relationship, getting a job in a certain very well-known company. I am going to print a card tomorrow. I am now an engineer with IBM. Don't think anything less. IBM, the famous internationally known company. My card will show Senior Development Engineer in IBM. So the self says, once you have that card with you, business card, what worry will you have anymore? Nothing. Everything is falls in place. This is the energy of the self. It is like a balloon that goes flat with one pinprick. Now we are to think about energy not of the self. This is where mysticism comes in. This energy which is not of the self is really speaking beyond reason. So I personally would give the opinion that Krishna ji, to a large extent, speaks standing on reason, logic, very, very intelligent observation, comments, remarks. He makes terrific remarks on life. As you know, a series of 3 books by him is titled Commentaries on Living. Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. Commentaries on living. He makes extraordinary comments, observations on living life, factual observations. But the opinion that I would like to share with you is my opinion. There is a certain element, certain amount in the teachings, in great humility and in great amount of being unassuming. Krishnaji doesn't want us to call it his teachings. He says they are the teachings. They are not my teachings or your teachings. They are not Buddha's teachings or they are not Shankara's teachings. They are the teachings. They don't belong to any particular person. They are not the private property of anybody. These are my words. But Krishnaji doesn't like the expression Jai Krishnamurti's teachings. He doesn't like the teachings. All right. The so-called the teachings have a certain bit of beyond reason. It's not against reason. It is not opposed to reason. It's not illogical. But it's not provable. It's not to be, established by reason. It cannot be established. QED. This is what I said and this is what was to be established and look, it is established. No. Rather, it is something that appeals to the heart of ours at a certain great depth. Something deep inside is touched by some of his observations. For example, in this matter, the energy not of the self. Krishnaji would say that every one of us essentially has a certain feeling for beauty, feeling for joy, feeling for happiness, feeling of love. In fact, somewhere else I read once, I liked that statement which put work in a very favorable light. And that statement, which I found somewhere else, not in Krishnaji's teachings, maybe he too said it. The statement was, work is love made visible. Work is love made visible. How we wish work indeed was love made visible. Once in a while, yes. Once in a while, you and I work, spend hours, spend days maybe on something driven by love, pure love. Though rare, more often than not, let us admit, the work that we do is selfishness made visible, not love made visible. Selfish dreams, selfish aspirations, selfish hopes, self-centered visualization. I'm going to work 12 hours today because that is how down the road in 5 years I will become haha. So there is clearly noticed or not so clearly noticed by us, there is an agenda. And our work, our burning midnight oil, our staying late, or getting up very early and rolling up our sleeves and starting whatever work we do, alas, more often than not, that work is the expression of certain plan of the self. But Krishnaji has said at places that that desire for expressing ourselves, I want to go on the stage and sing. You know, I feel like singing and I sing, that's perfectly all right. But thought comes in there. Hey, my God, though I am singing in the bathroom, no one else is hearing, but I can see I am singing so well. Well, that's an opportunity for me. Very soon I will go on the stage. To begin with, 25 to 30 will listen to me and applaud. And then there will be hundreds, if not thousands. So, the desire to sing came from a pure feeling, the feeling of joy, the feeling of certain aesthetic appreciation. Some song, some tune, some raga, some tala, some laya, some components. I don't know music much. Music is made of certain components. I guess they are called raga, tala, laya, and in Western music probably there are other words. So first there is the feeling for a melody. Then thought comes in, why not nowadays in the digital world and digital marketing, there is a word. Why not I monetize it? You sing, you speak, you write, you do something, Then you say, my God, this has got a lot of market value. I'm going to monetize it. First you were singing and you are not charging people. First you were singing and it was free for all. But now you sing and there is a ticket, 500 rupees per ticket. So we are examining how thought interferes and makes the whole singing a matter of self-expression. And what is more, there is the agenda of self-advancement. So what are we to then do then? So in this presentation, to say a few more words now before I conclude my submission, it is only through acutely seeing, it's only through seeing with tremendous alertness. Oh my, when I just sang, when I just spoke, when I just worked, it was heaven on earth. This place, this organization, this setting was heaven on earth. But the moment I brought profit motive, moment I brought this agenda of projecting myself, the moment I brought certain visualization of enjoyment, gratification. In fact, a sentence I read today, Krishnaji says, when thought operates, there is a division between the good and the pleasurable. So you sing out of no particular selfish agenda, it is good. You sing, singing is good. But when there is an agenda, I sing, very soon I will have many fans. There will be many people who want to listen to my songs only and they will stop listening to songs by others. My others, it came by thought. Krishnaji calls it pleasurable. There's a division between the good and pleasurable. With my Upanishadic background, suddenly my mind went to a statement in Kathopanishad. Life very often brings us to crossroads, where one way it is good, called Shreya, and other way you go, it is called pleasurable, Preya. Shreyaha, Preyaha are the two words used in Kathopanishad, and we are advised to go for Shreyaha, Shreyas. Don't go for Preyaha or Preyas. Oh, there is always this division between the good and the pleasurable, says Krishnaji in one of his talks. And let me say, it is when in lack of alertness, lack of attention, when our intelligence is as though clouded, covered by a smoke screen of personal desire, that we let go or we leave behind the good Shreya and go for Preya, thinking we are very smart, but very soon we end up in so much of conflict. So I must clarify once more. What I called a bit of mysticism is, it is said here that if you notice the operation of the self, and in that intelligent noticing, the self subsides, a different energy makes us live, makes us work, makes us sing, makes us speak, makes us toil, makes us sweat in the hot sun, makes us do things which nobody else wants to do, but we don't mind because we do not suffer anymore from those imagined ideas of, this is high job, that is low job, this is high task, that is low task, this is menial work. I don't do. I'm a very qualified lady. Why will I do this? Some people who failed in 5th standard, they should do this. Whereas I have a postgraduate degree, etc. That is the working of thought. Whereas this energy which is not of the self somehow steers clear of all the machinations of thought, and through its pure intelligence realizes that here is a piece of work which needs to be done, and if no one else wants to do, I'll gladly do it. I don't need some honor, some felicitation. I don't need somebody to applaud. I see that this needs to be done for others or for my sake. That also doesn't make a difference, but this work needs to be done. Karyamityeva yat karma kriyate. There is an expression. This karyam, this needs to be done. Therefore, it is done. Self doesn't get into it. The self gets into it. If I do, what will I get? And why should I only do? Why doesn't he do, or why doesn't she do? And so on. That is the intrusion of the self. Thus, there is a mystical flavor. There is a mystical perfume to this observation. See what happens when the self subsides. When the self is not, you are not going to drop dead. On the contrary, a new energy functions through you. Come on, meet with that energy. Give that energy a chance, seems to be the clarion call of these mystics who have seen way beyond what normally we see. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Harshad Parekh sir. Harshad Parekh sir, please. Harshad Parekh sir.
Okay. Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Swamiji. Very clear. You have presented that the energy which exists when the self is not is a kind of a personal. One has to really feel it. Otherwise, it remains conceptual. But let me talk about energy in general, because I was a teacher of physics in school, Krishnamurti schools, and physics is the study of matter and energy. And long time ago, the matter and energy were considered to be separate. But after Einstein gave the equation E equal to mc square, that E represents energy and the m represents mass, it means that in a very small mass, tremendous energy is locked, like in uranium nucleus. And so when the uranium nucleus is split by bombarding some particle, tremendous energy is generated, which is a nuclear energy, which can be used either to make atom bombs or it can be used to produce electricity for our use. So energy exists everywhere, which is not of the self. Like the most fundamental energy which we have is the solar energy, and without solar energy, we cannot exist. So, and apart from that, there is a mechanical energy, chemical energy, electrical, magnetic energy, light energy, wind and geothermal energy, and all kinds of energies exist in which there is no self. It is beyond, even if we don't exist, those energies exist. And but we are not talking about that kind of energy in this talk. We are talking about the energy which is within us, like a bioenergy, which makes the blood go around, makes the heart pump, and so on. But we are also not talking about bioenergy, but we are talking about the energy which exists when thinking is not there, when there is a silence. And when there is a silence, when there is a no thinking, there is no thinker. Thinker means the self, I, me. It comes from thinking. So actually, a tremendous energy exists when our mind is very silent, and um, that makes us really that kind of energy when self is not, that makes us feel what is called love, beauty, happiness. All these feelings come when the self is not. And there is there is in Indian philosophy, they say that there is an energy which is at the base of the spine, which is called Kundalini energy. And this energy is not awakened in most human beings. And when it is awakened, then it goes to the brain and it begins to transform the brain, and the brain becomes highly evolved, and it begins to see, enjoy, look everything in a different way. So in our modern times, Ramakrishna used to speak a lot about Kundalini, Gyaneshwar, and there was one writer called Pandit Gopi Krishna. He wrote a lot about Kundalini energy from his own personal experience. And Krishnaji doesn't want to go into, because he says that it is very dangerous when this Kundalini is awakened, this energy, it can lead to madness also if the body is not prepared to get receive that kind of energy, and it produces tremendous heat. And Krishnaji, in his young age, went through something, that tremendous energy, which is called the process, which was trying to transform his brain, it is said. But Krishnaji did not want to talk about those experience of the process. But in 1979, when Krishnaji was in Rishi Valley, and I joined at that year, Krishnaji said that one night he woke up in Rishi Valley and he felt that he had touched the source of all energy. It was a kind of a mystical experience, and he called it the ground. And beyond that ground, there is nothing, he said. And he discussed with David Bohm about this ground. And so there is this tremendous energy, the possibility exists within us, but it cannot be done with will or power, because it means that there is a self which desires to have that kind of energy. So as long as the self is there, that energy cannot be awakened. But in moments when there is a mind is silent, there is no self, then there is a different state altogether. And that is what Krishnaji was uh, of love and beauty, where the self is not. And so Krishnaji made everything not in a mystical sense, but he make it in a poetic, philosophic way about love is when the self is not. And there is one why we don't have that energy, because our life is full of conflicts within us And that, as the Swamiji talked about the conflicts in the beginning, and that conflicts are also within us in the form of thinker and thought. In Krishnaji's words, thought creates the thinker, means self, and then self says, I like it, I don't like it. So there is a duality between thinker and thought, and that is a waste of energy. And that is why, because of this conflict which we have, we get very tired and we find life meaningless. We get bored and tired because there is a lot of energy is wasted in the conflicts within us. And when there is a conflict within us, it will express with other human beings also. And that is what has been happening in the world. So in Krishnamurti's teachings, I came to see that thought creates this thinker self, and then the self tries to change thought, and in that there is a waste of energy. When I really meditated on Krishnaji's philosophy of thinker and thought, I, I experienced that state in which the thinker is not, the self is not, and it was a wonderful state, and it is possible for all human beings. A tremendous possibility exists for all human beings. And Swamiji talked about the treasure, and I feel that the treasure is buried within us, but we are searching for treasure outside in money, power, position, respectability. This we consider as the treasure. But the treasure is buried within us, and it has been expressed by Mirabai or Kabir in their poems that the inner treasure, Ram Ratan Dhan Payo, Kharche na Khute, Chor na Lute, Din Din Badat Savayo. And like there is a one metaphor that one beggar was sitting on a wooden box and he was begging for money, and one wise man passed by and he asked the beggar, have you looked at in the wooden box on what you are sitting? And when the beggar opened the box, wooden box, there was a lot of treasure buried in that. And he did not know, and he was sitting on it. So our life is like that. We are having a tremendous treasure buried within us, but we are not aware, and we are searching for treasure outside. So I have said enough thing right now. Maybe later on, if there is some thought comes. Thank you.
Dinesh Waghmare, please.
Are you able to listen my voice, sir?
Today it is
able
today it is your subject. Waghmare, energy is your subject. Please tell.
Are you able to hear my voice?
Oh yeah, we are
Yes.
able.
It is a very vast subject basically, and it cannot be covered in one session. Maybe 3-4 sessions are required. But in short, what I can say, already Swamiji has covered main portion and heart of it, and even Harshad sir has also covered most of the points. But to be continued with my thought, I would repeat many of the things and proceed further. I will try to be short as much possible as much as possible. First of all, I would like to say what science says. Harshad sir has already said about it, but the science says the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity is basically energy. Science also says power derived from the utilization of physical or chemical resources. So energy is the capacity or power to do the work. The interesting thing with the energy is it is normally hidden or it is invisible. And when the work is done, then only you can measure it, or you can, with some reference, you can measure it, the work done, and then only you can say that this is a particular energy is there. The ability to exert the effort, energy can exist in variety of forms. as Harshad sir said, electrical, mechanical, etc. So I'm skipping this portion. Now, this energy can be found in many things and can take different forms. For example, kinetic energy is the energy of motion, and potential energy is the energy due to an object's position or structure. So same is the case with us also, which we will see. Even human beings, you will see. Energy is never lost, but it can be converted from one form to another. So it is never lost, but it can be converted from one form to another. Now, potential energy is measured by the capability to do the work or the conversion of this capability into motion. Now, normally, as said earlier, this is invisible or hidden. And measured only by the work done. Human energy is also called, now this latest science says, human energy is called bioelectrical energy and body electric energy. Why they call it electric energy? Because in humans they found that it's similar to the electrical energy, as well as it also processes chemical. Brain also sends the electrochemical messages, which are normally goes to the parts of your body, and then body acts on it. Einstein also said, as Harshad sir said, it is interchangeable. Means mass can be converted into energy, and energy can be converted into mass. This means that everything, including humans, is simply energy stored in mass particle form. This is very interesting. This means that everything, including humans, is simply energy stored in mass particle forms. And further science says it is equal to the 100-watt electrical night bulb. They said it is 100 equivalent to 100 electrical 100 watts electrical night bulb, out of which 20% is consumed by brain. Means 20% of your energy is consumed by the brain. This is very interesting. And now it is only the 2% of the body's mass. Brain is only 2% of the body's mass, but it consumes 20% of the energy. This is very interesting. Now, from here we go. So that's why we see that mind and your brain, their function is very important, and it is to be taken care of. Now we come to JK. Now what JK says? As per JK, content of consciousness is consciousness. Self is made up of past contents, and thought represents it. And self is formed because of this content, and it thinks that it has got the authority to use this energy, and this energy is his. But this is basically of it because of ignorance. As we said earlier, total body system or human body system is energy, and out of which some liberty is there for ego to work. But because of ignorance, ego thinks that it has got this energy is his total. Further, what JK says, it is very interesting that JK says, talking about thought, that it is materialistic process. But at other places, on the other side, he says the intellectual energy, the emotional energy, the has a this intellectual energy, emotional energy, or feelings energy, with its tradition, has not been able to solve any of the human problems. Why? Because, as said by Harshad sir, thought divides. Thought divides basically your energy, and that energy is then becomes fragmented, or a division is formed, and such divided energy cannot solve your all problem. And such fragmentation is dissipation of energy, which Harshad sir has also said earlier. But as said, here JK is saying that these are energies. So what we have to understand one thing, that content of consciousness, as per my views, this is my opinion, content of consciousness is a matter. But the movement of it, the movement of that content means creation, remaining there and then going off. That is all energy phenomena. That this we have to understand. So it is matter also, thought is matter also, and thought has got energy base also. This is to be noted. Somewhere in I don't exactly remember, but either a tradition in revolution, tradition and revolution, and or exploration into insight. JK said, do you know what this sorrow energy is? If you understand this energy, then it will transform itself into passion, and this passion energy will convert itself into compassion. So he has also mentioned at various places these are the energy phenomena. So around 110. Now, further JK says that we should be concerned with different kind of energy, which will, if we can able to tap, yes, that will resolve our all problems. So he talks of different kind of energy, which will, if we can tap, resolve our problems. And at various places he has given references of energy which is non-dualistic. Energy of perception, action is entirely different, and that energy is the energy of creation. There is creative energy, truly religious energy, when the mind is free from all conflict and all the travel of thoughts. Religion means gathering together all your energy. Meditation is essence of energy. These are the all things said by the JK. Various places, JK has also indicated that if you go through your this process of understanding thought as well as self-knowing, then and you are able to complete your thought, and if there is a silent mind, as Harshad sir said also, then you can have a different kind of you can perhaps touch that different kind of energy, which he has called as immeasurable or eternity or various words he has used. So he has given just indication. First he has asked the question whether such energy is possible, and other side he has only given the hint or said in different words that keep your own window open and all that, and then you may have that touch of that energy or such phenomena, etc., etc. It is very interesting. Let us talk about tradition also. So this energy which is hidden or which is behind, or we can say this is ultimate energy, some people say, what tradition says. Aitreya Upanishad says that Prajnanam Brahma means that ultimate higher intelligence energy, Dio, is Pragyanam Brahma. So it also talks of the higher intelligence energy Dio. And we can see that whatever has been said in this scriptures, that Satchit Anand, what they say, Sat is basically the truth or existence, or the Sat is basically the essence of everything, and it is the base on which Chaitanya and your this Anand, and this Chaitanya and Anand Dio is Maya. So this creates various forms, and this is the ultimate energy. Chaitanya is basically the higher intelligence, and this what we say Anand, we cannot separate them, but the energy which is uh, inherent in this Anand, that has created all the forms. That's what they say. When we talk of Tantra, Harshad sir has also pointed out about Kundalini. They also talk of this Kundalini situated in the sacred places. What they say basically that it is the grosser energy, basically, not with full intelligence, and it is locked in your sacral plexus chakra. And when it is awakened, actually, in fact, if you study the Tantra, energy is always awakened, but at one place it is in the direction of the world, it is going in the direction of world. And if you think to understand what is the truth, then you have to reverse it, and that is, they call it as the awakening of the this Kundalini. Indirectly somewhere Krishna ji has also discussed about the awakening of intelligence. So we can roughly we can compare this, that Tantra says that this energy, when is awakened, it moves through all the chakras, and initially it is known as Kul Kundalini. Kul means all your past records, and with all your, in Krishnaji's language we can say that it is the conditioning. So it is conditioned energy, locked energy, which when goes upwards and goes to your Sahasrara chakra, or the crown chakra, they call it. There it becomes Akul. Akul means free of all the foundation. So whether we talk of Vedanta, whether we talk of this Tantra, this energy, all have said the same thing, that there is ultimate energy which is non-dualistic energy, and which is behind all this creation. If you talk of this Vipassana, then Vipassana is also focuses on this only. By various grosser energies, they go ultimately to the energy which is non-dualistic, and in all this process, as Swamiji said, self becomes your self is diluted basically. So if we talk of Bhakti Marg, then they talk of Unmani Avastha. Unmani Avastha is also the same thing. Means if you study the Narad Bhakti Sutra or this thing, whatever they call Unmani Avastha, this is the actually yoga with the God. Means you are moving towards the ultimate what we can say basis of this whole game. If you talk of Jap Yoga, then Jap Yoga is also saying the same thing. They say that your all Jap goes through your Vakri, Madhyama, Pashyanti, and then it goes to Para. Para means which is hidden. Or we also see in our various Shiv Mandirs and all that, all they are Gupta Mahadev. They call it Gupta Mahadev, or they call it those mandirs are already those mandirs are basically made in such places which are very interior on or inside the gufa and all that. So this is the indication that the truth is actually in depth. If you go in depth, then you will get the truth. So even it's in Purana there is an interesting story of Parvati, Shankar, and your Ganeshji. Parvati by grocer this thing our grocer material, she made a boy, and that boy was that boy she said she was going to take a bath. So she said to that boy that you be here and don't allow anybody to enter. So that boy was having many powers of or siddhis of because of the given by the Parvatis, many powers. But what happened? Because of ignorance, he also he also stops Shiva. So Shiva cuts his head, and when Parvati came and requested Shiva to put to make him live, to make him live again, then he puts head of elephant, and that was the man, that boy was known as Ganesh. Uh, Ganesh means Ishwar of all the gun, and gun they call it what they define gun as all these your worldly conflicts and all other these things, they called it gun. So we see a similar pattern evolving or emerging everywhere in this. So only the difference comes here is because of the individuality and the basic traits of the individual. What where he can go and how he can tackle mm, this issue. So right now I want to submit this much only. Thank you.
Thank you, Waghmare. Let me request Chidanandji, because he has to leave at 7:15. Would you please make a remark on the statement made?
Once more, we appreciate the detailed comments by Dinesh Waghmare ji. So many things he said, but I would especially make a reference to how he connected it with passion. And also he said passion then leads to compassion. So the good passion, the pure passion is an aspect of the energy which is not of the self. But then the problem is there is a passion which comes from the self also. So at one of his pieces of writing or speech, Krishnaji has talked about passion of feeling versus passion of expression. So when we feel, that is, when we perceive some beauty outside or inside, that perception of beauty leads to a certain passion. When I spoke, I talked about singing. So, appreciating some melody, we may just sing without worrying about anybody listening, hearing, anybody around or not, without caring for popularity. But then the word expression comes in here. I want to express my talent. I want to express who I am. Self-expression. It is a big thing in this world. Everybody dreams of expressing their talent, and then ambition, then hope, then great expectations. What do you call that? Indian Idol and some Saregama. There are so many shows where one or two boys, one or two girls make it to the finals and so on. I think there is a lot of financial reward also. And for one boy or girl who in this what you call in Hindi chakkar, in this chakkar of expressing their talent, one or two enjoy, but hundreds, if not thousands, go back home with broken hearts. It is agonizing. And be sure even these one or two who make it big in one particular series are in for disappointment another time because their mind gets attached. So this expressing, I am a very good speaker. Please know I am a very good writer. I am a very good scientist. Look at the product I made. Look at the invention I came out with. So once we want to express, the passion connected with expression is a problematic one. The passion connected with the feeling. I think when Newton had that insight why the apple fell from the tree, then he surely was, I think, with a feeling. And he was excited, he was inspired. When that other guy jumped out of the bathtub and ran in his city saying Eureka, there was pure feeling. He didn't even notice that he was running naked on the street of his town. So, this Eureka story and so many inventions in big and small ways, there is a pure passion, passion of feeling. This is so beautiful. And you just, you know, express that passion. But when that expression goes a few inches further, thought gets in, and we want to monetize. Then now Dineshji said how passion could further blossom into compassion. But if thought enters into it, it blocks that, it stops that process. Passion does not then become compassion. With thought entering and spoiling the show, this passion then becomes uh, nothing but some selfish movement. Therefore, I especially want to say I appreciated that mention of passion and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Prasad, sir.
Sir, namaste to everybody. I don't have the depth of Dineshji in Puranas and all that. My approach is very simple. I entirely agree with Harshadji when he talks of different types of energy, like nuclear energy, thermonuclear energy, electrical energy, magnetic energy, all sorts of things, all sorts of energies are there. We are not talking of any of those types of energy. We are talking only of human energy, what we call bioenergy or something like that. For me, there are no two types of energy. Energy of the self and energy of non-self. When you say energy of the self, it is implied that there is a different type of energy which is of the non-self. We all know what is the energy of the self. We all experience it. We have lived with it. Because Krishnaji somewhere says, everything requires energy. Everything you do. Not only what you do, even your thought requires energy. It requires energy, and the thought energy is basically a material energy. It is material process. There is nothing very sacred, there is nothing sacred about thought energy. It is very simple. Then what is this non-self energy? It is not different from self energy. The non-self energy is only when the thought process becomes silent. When your thought subsides and you experience a silence, in that silence is energy. That silence itself is energy. That takes the form of compassion, love, sense of beauty, sensitivity to everything, both the beautiful and the ugly. That is the non-self energy. For self-energy, we know all these forms. When I am arguing in a court of law, that also needs energy. That is of the self. Because it is done more for money than for anything else. When a doctor does an operation, surgical operation, it's also for money. And all these things, when I do business, when I sell products, buy and sell products and all that, I hunt for a place where I can get a cheap supplies. All this is human life, is energy of the self. So there is no difference, basic difference. When I eat food, I get energy from rice, I get energy from roti, from vegetable, from curd. They are not they don't give birth to different types of energy. They all give ultimately only energy. Similarly, we have only energy that is both of the self and of the non-self. When the energy of the self is limited, exhausting actually. When you are occupied in your profession, by the end of the day, you are exhausted because there is no love in that. Similarly, when a student studies for marks, for recognition, he is exhausted soon. But if he studies for the love of the subject, and that is where most parents fail, they give all inducements for the boy to study, but they don't create in the boy interest in a subject. They don't know how to do that. That is where most parents fail. If he develops interest in the subject and studies, then the sky is the limit for the boy. So, the energy of silence, when your thoughts are not chattering, you are not chattering, with thoughts. When there is a silence, love, compassion, and things like that, intelligence and all those things, freedom actually, basically. I would say freedom is non-self energy. Freedom from thought, from past, from tradition. All these things, when you have freedom, you have non-self energy, which possibly is unlimited. Thank you, sir.
Pradeep sir. Pradeep sir. Dr.
Thank you so much. Very interesting and very intriguing and very, very vast subject, of course. All have said that. You see, while Chidanandji talked two very important things when he was summarizing, I think, after Dineshji, passion for expression. You see, we are so passionate to express that time becomes absolutely, it is lost. So passion for expression is in a way obstructs compassion for time, for others, like that. So that was very interesting. I thank Swamiji for introducing this topic that energized me to revisit myself, my energy status, my half-read books, to attain a fresh understanding of energy, that is me. So I was using my energy, I am using it again and again because the self, I am the self which is using how it is energized. So I was using my energy reading a lovely book, Energy for Life by Caroline Shola Areva, a humanistic psychologist, master of yoga, and author of four books, including the highly acclaimed Opening to Spirits. Anyway, she is committed to elevating energy, evolving consciousness, and improving our world. So she is talking to me as the self, one self talking to the other self, how the self, energy of self can be elevated to a certain dimension. Self is a very powerful energy center that can motivate life-giving energies. Self energy in me. I appreciated this topic, but some sort of protest came to the later part, not of the self. You see, Chidanandji talked about this thing. Truth is where the self is not. Another, while listening to him, I was very much I wanted to get clarification about this. Truth is where the self is not. Is the self is not the truth? The self who is trying to understand, the self who is trying to increase energy levels, the self who goes to reading this and that, Upanishad, this thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, Kundalini, and rest of the things to elevate, to bring his energy levels or her energy levels to a certain desirable state. So, this is what people, human psychology, Prasadji was talking about. Human psychology, you can see in four different things. The spiritual energy, its measurement scale is flowing or blocked. Then psychological energy, positive or negative. Then emotional energy, good or bad. Then physical, high or low. So ultimately, I'll touch a little bit of the modern view about energy. I will read out. Everything is made from energy, and reality is created through the impact of consciousness on energy, matter, as well as the mind, evolved out of a common cosmic womb. The interaction of our mind and consciousness with the quantum vacuum links us with other minds around us, as well as the biosphere of the planet. This openness has been to mystics and sensitives, prophets, and metaphysicians through the ages. Now, the recognition of openness is returning to the natural sciences. As we were talking the other day about the Ilya Prigoghin's work. Then, this is Erwin Laszlo. What we think of as matter is but the quantized semi-stable bundling of the energy. What we think of as matter is but the quantized semi-stable bundling of the energies that spring from the vacuum. In the last count, matter is but a waveform disturbance in quasi-infinite energy, and information C, that is the connecting field and the enduring memory of the universe. This is Erwin Laszlo, a famous thinker and philosopher from Sorbonne University. That is the university that one of the two first European universities in 13th century. So likewise, at least we are opening that way. And my only thing is self, as Prasadji also talked about it, self connected to the so-called non-self, connected to different energies. So self, I received it. I know that I am the self. So this has to be seen that whether there is really non-self. At times, the energy we waste can be called nonsensical energy. So the depletion of energy through senses is nonsensical energy. That just came to my mind suddenly. Thank you very much, friends. I think
Thank,
some
thank,
is also waiting for that.
thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, Pradeep ji. Parekh sir, would you please like to comment on it?
No, I like to comment on the empty space. There is empty space everywhere around us, and we think that it is empty, but it is not empty. Of course, we can say there is air particles, but even if you remove a vacuum, even in that vacuum, there is a lot of energy there. Why? Because all these electromagnetic waves which are transmitted by various sources, television and radio, they are all around the space. Even the electromagnetic waves coming from BBC or Voice of America, it is everywhere around us. And all we need is a radio or television to switch on to that. So there is a tremendous energy is in the what we call empty space. And this I read in the book by David Bohm on quantum physics that the empty space is not empty, it is full of energy. And the other comment which I like to make is that Krishnaji, when he was old and his health was not good and he used to feel very tired, but when he came on the platform and started giving talks, he was full of energy because there was a lot of passion to communicate, and he felt that his life existed to communicate what he really deeply felt. So that was the energy coming because of that. He wanted to communicate something, but after the talk, again, he would feel very tired, as if he was throwing out the energy in the space around. And maybe he thought that some people would understand what he was talking about. So these are the only comments I have to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Waghmare, you have to end it in a minute or so, please.
Okay, okay. Thank you. One thing we have to understand that basically we are talking of energy, but we are not talking of the intelligence associated with it. See, where we talk of mechanical energies, these are the grosser energies, and here the intelligence is limited. So we call it a characteristic of energy. Say, for example, magnetic energy, it has got some limitations. Electrical energy, it has got some limitations. The intelligence has limited it. So we call it characteristic of a energy, particular energy. Another thing we have to understand that we are just explaining the things. We are not the creator of the things. So all these energies, Prasad sir was saying about the self and non-self energies. It is the same. Yes, energy is energy. But what is the quality of that energy? That means Krishnaji also talks about quality of energy. As soon as the intelligence level goes up or the degree of freedom goes up, and the degree of freedom goes up, the creation has got various freedom available with it. So we see various forms and this thing, and particularly in life forms, we see that there is a lot of freedom. So quality of energy is it matters, and it is a different thing. Even Pradeep ji was saying about the self and non-self. Self, as soon as the self forms, it becomes very limited in all its resources and all that, and utilization all that. So we have to see that we have to be how we get the freedom. As soon as we start getting the freedom, there will be another silence is only the just we can say that it is a state where we can get some more freedom, and then the creation can be started by the intelligence, or intelligence can come into picture, and you can do some such works which were not supposed to be done by you cannot even thought of doing earlier. So these are the things.
Thank
And
you very
we
much.
should think on these things. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Number of times you are saying think on this. How many things you have to think? You left nothing
Right
to
thinking has to be there, sir.
do everything you say. So please end it, Modak.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.